Hello painters, it's Debbie from acrylicpouring.com and I'm back today for another painting experiment. So you can see I've got some paints laid out, and I was always such a stubborn and awkward child because if somebody said to me, you should do it this way, I always wanted to know why. Have you ever tried it the other way? Is there a better way? Who says it has to be done this way? So I've been watching other people's YouTube channels and things for a while, and every now and again I see people mention about paint transparency, and that in order to get a good poured painting you should have a mix between opaque and transparent paints, and that even you should mix them in the cup. If you're going to do a flip cup, that one layer is opaque, the next layer is transparent, then it's opaque, and so on. And I wondered, is this true? What will happen if I don't? So here we go with another crazy painting experiment where I just don't, and I absolutely refuse, and we'll see what's going to happen. So let's talk a little bit about paint transparency to start with. You might see it marked up in various different ways, and it tends to be very small. So I'm going to try and put this in front of the camera and see if it will focus. No, I don't think it will. Come on, come into focus. Anyway. It seems to be focusing down here, which is a bit of a nuisance. But what happens is on this packet, you can see here right by my fingernail, I've got a tiny little black square, and the black square means the square is fully covered, and next to it is a tiny word which says opaque. So this paint is opaque. If you layered this on top of another paint, you wouldn't see the paint underneath. Then you might see something like this one. This one again, it's tiny, it's very hard to see. It's a little box which is half white and half clear, and this one says translucent. So this is semi-transparent. You might also see it this way. Again, this is a different brand, but the box is the same. So there's a tiny box and it's got, oh, I think it's come into focus for once. There we go. You can see it there. It's half white, half empty, and this one actually says semi next to it. So this one's semi-transparent. And then you might see this box, and this box here is just a box, and inside the box there's nothing. So basically it's an empty box, and this one also says transparent on it. So you might see them marked up as that, or you might find it something which is very easy to understand. These acrylics that I use from Art Alternatives, they actually have transparent written on them, so that's nice and easy. But some of your paints of course might not be marked at all, in which case you would have to trial that for yourself and see which ones are opaque and transparent. So I'm going to clear all those to one side because today I'm going to use only transparent colours. So I'm going to use lemon yellow, magenta, ultramarine blue and the warm red. They're all from Art Alternatives, and I'll provide a link where you can get these ones. They're really good paints. I use them all the time. They come in these huge 1 pint bottles, so they're very economical to use. So if you're starting out and you want to have lots of paints to test with, these are really good. But I am going to mix them with a base of white. And again, here's my Art Alternatives acrylic white, and of course the white is opaque. So I'm going to mix up a large cup of white, and then mix in with it my transparent colours. In terms of my recipe for today, I will mix my transparent colours here with 2 parts to paint and 1 part of the Floetrol, which I'll use as my pouring medium, and then I will add water as necessary to get to the right pouring consistency. None of my colours will have any silicone in them. The only thing I am going to do is in the white paint, I'm going to add in this KY True Feel. This is 100% dimethicone, and I will put 2 drops in the white and nothing at all in any of the others, because cells is not my priority today. What I want to do is splash a load of paint around all of these transparent colours and see what happens. Is some kind of magical mess going to happen because they're all transparent? They're all going to kind of layer over the top of each other and basically make black, brown, grey? Or will 2 colours mix and automatically make another colour? I don't know, and that's what I want to find out. So let's get started. I'm going to mix up my paints and then we'll layer them up into our cup. So I'm going to start with some magenta. And then I have my ultramarine blue. Let's pop that in on the side. And now that was interesting, that one sank down quite a lot more than the magenta, so that's obviously a much heavier colour. Then let's go with some lemon yellow. That one has stayed a lot more on the top, and this one is a warm red. And that one has sunk a lot more. Okay, so now I've got my first set of colours, lots of white, a little bit of colour. I'm going to go around and add some more. So this time I'm going to add a splodge, like I did, and then I'm going to try and carefully layer some paint on the top. So there's plenty of yellow. Let's do the same with my pink. My pink's here, so I'm going to add it in the same place. A big splodge of the pink so that it sinks down in, although the pink isn't sinking very much. And then another layer of the pink on the top. Oops. And now some blue. My blue was over here. So my blue, as you can see, is a sinky colour. That one kind of sinks down in. But again, I'm going to try and do it lightly so that I get a layer of blue on the top. So what I'm aiming to do is get a layer of the colours mixed in with the whites, and then a layer of the colours which are going to be absolutely next to each other in my pour, so that we can see what happens. So lastly, my red was over here. Let's do that one, sinks down in, and then a layer of red on the top. So we've got a lot of white, we've got a lot of all the other colours, I've got a lot of paint, and I've left my little stick in here because I am going to give it a stir. It's something I don't normally do, but because of the way I've layered the paints in there, I'm going to go also a kind of a lift up, like that, just to mix them in together. Okay, so let's see what happens. Could be a bit messy, but we will see. Give myself plenty of working space. I'm going to zoom you out. I can do it carefully. There we go. And I'm just going to pour this onto the canvas, and I'm going to do it at an angle because I want the paint to kind of run, so that as I pour, it's not just sitting on each other, but in fact the layers are running over the top of each other. And I think as I do that, we will get more of an indication of what's going to happen with all of these transparent colours. You can see in the cup, they don't look especially transparent when they're all carefully kind of layered together like that, so it will be interesting. And without further ado, let's go ahead and do it. So I got a lot of red and blue, and I've got a lot, oh, that looks really interesting in the cup. I've got a lot left in the cup, so as usual I've mixed far too much paint, but I kind of like it as it is, so I might just put another little bit down at the bottom. Let's spread it out first of all. If I spread out and tilt to cover the canvas, and I've got plenty more paint if I do want to change anything up, if it ends up basically just to red and blue. So I'm going to get myself some gloves, because a lot of people have made comments that I don't use gloves, and I should, so I'm going to give it a try today and just see how I get on. So I'm just going to reach myself a pair. In truth, I gave myself a little mini manicure last night, and I'm going out somewhere tomorrow, so I would like to not end up with paint everywhere, but we'll see how that happens. So let's give this a little tilt and see what happens. I'm going to tilt it, I think, off to this pink side first of all. So at the moment we're not seeing an awful lot of indication that the paints are kind of doing anything different because they're transparent. All of the colours still look very vibrant and full. We're not kind of seeing too much in the way of any kind of muddiness or mixing. But obviously the test will come when it's dry, because when they're wet they tend to be less transparent, and obviously the transparency is much more obvious once it's dry. I do like that red and blue combination together, that's very nice. Okay, it looks very rich. Get it off to this last corner over here. Nice. And on the side. Beautiful. Oh, a little bit there. Need to just fill in this last little bit. And a bit more in this corner. I might just run that last bit off. Okay. So there's my painting. to just wipe up. I still managed to get it all the way up my arm despite having gloves on. That's never going to change. It's always going to end up my arms. So let's take a look. So I kind of like that as it is. I was thinking maybe I would use this extra paint and put you know, other ribbons on top. Maybe I should anyway, just because we are testing transparency. So maybe I'm just going to put a little line up here. I'm not very good at this kind of ribbonsy thing, so we'll see what happens. If it all goes horribly wrong, well, there we go, I tried. I'm just going to follow that design around. And it's also brought a bit more of that yellow in, which is good, because I had yellow but it's kind of missing, so let's spread that out a little bit. It also breaks up that pink patch a little bit there. And I think that looks good. I like the way it's dribbling off over the edge there. And these cells down the bottom, I like the way they've stretched out just here. Okay, that looks a lot less linear now. It was a bit straight liney before, and now we've got a little bit more of a curve and a wave and a lot more of that yellow. I wonder whether I should just do a little bit more down there now, but I like that bit so much that I'm a little bit reluctant to. Okay, so it's got loads of cells. So I'm not going to torch for cells, but what I do want to do is just lightly torch over the top and see if I can pop any air bubbles, because I can see quite a few little air bubbles in the paint that are coming through. So I'll just see if I can do it lightly. Let's see what happens. Okay, I think that's good. I didn't have much gas in there, so it's only lightly torching. I could see all the little bubbles popping through, but I haven't disrupted any of the painting. So as it is, nothing here is looking especially transparent. We've really got our colours as set. So we've got the yellow, which is blending a little bit there into the blue to make a bit of a green, and the same just here. We've got a little bit of orange here where the red and yellow are next to each other and they've mixed. We've got a very distinct pink. We've got lots of distinct reds and blues, little bits of greens and things like that. So, and this line here is really nice. So there's not much here that tells us especially that there's anything different about this painting from using just transparent colours over white. So let me bring you down and show you the details, and then I think it'll be interesting to see this later on once it's dry, and then the transparent nature of the colours will be a lot more apparent. And it could be that, for example, where we've got the red, if it has a dark blue underneath, when it dries it'll either go purple or it'll just go really, really dark. And the same with the yellow, you know, if it's again, it might dry really dark. So that's again why I wanted to use some very dark colours along with some very light colours, and we'll see how it changes. So let me bring you down and show you the details now. So there we go, that's the full painting. And I like this little bit at the bottom. I like it when the cells get kind of stretched out and they look almost like dribbly, like rain down a window. I like that very much. And obviously the very bold distinction between the red and the blue always makes me happy. This little section across here where we've got a little bit of the white coming through, again, I think that looks really, really nice there, so I'm happy with that. And we've got some nice sections just here where the blue and the magenta mixed in together. So everything's looking good. And then as we go up, we start to get more of this kind of the sweeping feeling where the paints have gone on a bit of a curve up at the top. And here we've got a lot of really multicoloured cells. Lots of colours all mixing in together, which is really nice. Then a nice band of white just to break it up a little bit before we've got that ribbon that I added at the top over that section of pink that we had. So I'm happy. I think it looks good. I just really need to wait and see now what it looks like when it dries. So if you can hang around, I will dry this off and finish it and show you what the end result is of painting only with transparent colours. So here's the finished painting, and although we only used transparents in this one, the world didn't end and the sky didn't fall in. It was all just fine. As you can see, it's dried darker, which is what normally happens with acrylic paintings. They usually dry a little bit darker. But really, the cells have all stayed exactly the same. The colours are still nice and bright and vibrant. You know, nothing bad has happened to the painting. However, there is one thing bad that happened. If you look on the side just here, you can see where it's all just painted with black. Unfortunately, when I put the first coat of varnish on, I stupidly cleaned up my room, I hung up my cloths, closed the door, went to bed for the night, and when I came back in the morning, one of my cloths had blown down from the hanging bar above my desk, and it had fallen on the side of the painting just here and stuck to the coat of varnish I'd just done. And when I pulled it off as best as I could do, it still took a lot of the paint off the side here. So I'm not going to finish varnishing this one off now. This one's going to go in my to be reused section, unfortunately, which is a shame because I really enjoyed, I really liked this one. It's got the nice kind of deep rich colours that I would have liked. But do hop over to the blog. If you're watching this on YouTube, hop over to the blog article and take a look at some of the pictures of this one, because it's dried up absolutely fine. It's a little bit darker as you'd expect, but nothing out of the ordinary. So don't stress too much about making sure that you always have opaque, transparent, or so on, or that you must always mix opaque and transparent paints. Just do what you like, pick the colours that you like and see how it turns out. In the end, you know, nothing bad is going to happen. The sky's not going to fall in, but of course a cloth could fall on your finished painting. Thanks very much for watching, and I hope to see you at acrylic pouring again very soon. Don't forget to subscribe please, and do hit that little bell icon so you'll be notified of when I put up new videos. See you again soon.